I left my family. I left my kids. I left my nightclubs, my parking company, $35 million to fight the fight.
I guess first off, what would you say is like the biggest thing? I'm really curious, to be honest. The biggest thing that you learned about running uh, illegitimate businesses and how it helped you for your legitimate ones, and then vice versa.
Personality. Without a doubt, you have to find common goals with people and trust values in legitimate business, illegitimate business, and obviously work ethic. You know, to try to work hard
Yeah.
and to stay on top of your business, know numbers, and realize how to work with certain people because everybody has different personalities. So you're gonna have to deal with the different personalities in the street or in legitimate business, and with your customers, whoever they may be. And I think your personality of dealing with people and knowing how to adjust your personality to theirs, so that you get along and there is no arguing. And some people are a little more anal with the way they want figures and paperwork. Uh, and you try to accommodate them to what they like, what they're comfortable, not what you're comfortable with, but more so what they're comfortable with.
So, what's like the biggest? I mean, and even today, because you still have businesses today. What's the number one kind of personality trait you look for in someone you're going to work with, partner with, hire?
First you're looking at somebody that you're going to that you're going to hire. I think somebody that's very confident. You want people that are confident. It's very easy. A lot of people are, and we talk about this on the show, are always trying to defend themselves,
Mm.
and they're not secure enough to say, "So what?" To what any. Nobody's perfect. We all have personality defects. We all have some insecurities. We all have dysfunctionality in our families. And I think all those things you just got to let them go when you're dealing with people and say, "Listen, I'm not perfect. I don't dress every day, to my top game. Sometimes you make a comment that you shouldn't, and you just got to let them say, "Hey, I made a comment I shouldn't." I might be apologetic, and really, I think humble yourself in humility. I mean, humility and your ego. So if you get rid of the ego, then you're okay with everything and say, hey, like, basically when someone's attacking you or someone doesn't like what you're doing, like, what's your point? Your point is nobody's perfect. I mean, so
What would you do when, say, for your legitimate businesses, you had a problem with someone, um, and you were trying to go the non-violent route, or non-intimidation route? What was your kind of like go-to of, how to handle that?
well, we owned a pizzeria, my family, my sons and myself, and a lot of customers would come in. They wouldn't be happy, to complain about the price or to complain about the food and different. And a young guy came in one day, a big kid. He was a young kid. He was about 16, 17 years old, and he was sitting outside in front of, we had a couple of tables in front, and he started kicking over the tables and he threw a glass bottle on the floor. He threw it, So I came out and I said to him, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he got up like he goes, "What are you going to do about it?" So now
How old are you at the time?
this is just a couple of years ago.
Oh.
So so I'm thinking to myself, all right, if you hit him, you look like a big dummy because even though he's a big kid, he's a kid, and so you can't hit him. He's threatening you. And he just broke a bottle in front that, there's a lot of old people that come in and walk because there was a train station right there. The steps were literally at my door. So God forbid, somebody fell or a kid fell. So I'm trying to reason with him, and that didn't work. And so I was like, all right, listen, I'll give you another minute. I says to relax and I'll come back out. And he goes, what the fuck? Excuse the language. What are you going to do in a minute? Like he took it that I meant, physically. And basically what I'm saying is go ahead, kick a couple of tables over, do whatever you want in the next minute. Then I'll come back out, I'll pick the tables up, and then I'll try to talk to him. But instead he got aggressive. And by getting even further aggressive, there was a lady that said something to him. It wasn't even a man, it was a lady because there was a lot of people actually there. And I just looked at him at the people over in my store, and I go, how do you handle this? Because I really wasn't sure how to handle it. So it was kind of funny, but it was also frustrating. But after he left, right, and then finally he leaves, and he comes back with his stepdad, and his stepdad was a real nice guy. And I guess somebody either said something to the stepdad, or maybe he told the stepdad he did it. And the stepdad said, "Can I talk to you?" And I said, "Yeah." I go, "Listen." He goes, "I'm sorry, he's got some issues and this and that." And he goes, and then one of the women that were there said to him, "Do you know his history?" And the father said, "No." I go, "That's not important." And then they told him. And then I said to him, "Listen, when I was a kid, I did so many stupid things. And I wish maybe somebody would have beat the shit out of me sometimes when I did something dumb. Maybe it would have helped me change my life. Not that I wanted to hit your son." He goes, "Believe me," he goes, "I don't really know him. He's not a bad kid." He probably isn't a bad kid.
Right.
For whatever dumb reason he acted like that for that minute. Maybe, I always say the same thing. Maybe if you meet him at a different time and he's really a nice kid. And maybe when he went home, he felt bad. Maybe he didn't. But, as a business owner now, all the people that were there looked at it and said, "Wow, you really handled that well." And I'm saying to myself, I didn't really handle anything well. He said I handled it well. I guess because I didn't get aggressive. And so it carries over because those same customers used to come to my store a lot. And then the ones that didn't, they would tell the next person, "Hey, he's really, decent guy, businessman." And that goes back to, how you handle people in some, bad situations, and that's just one of many.
You still have that pizza spot?
No, I went out of business because I didn't handle the rest of my customers well. No, we got rid of it right before COVID, thank God. Yeah, we sold it back, and we got rid of it. But I mean, it was a good business, but that business, people that are in the food industry know it's a 24/7.
Yeah.
It's really not an easy business like people think.
All right, now we're going to try to call Larry, who is who's been a patron for 7 months. So let's see if he's around.
Hello?
Hello, Larry. This is Felix and John Alite. How are you?
Hey, how you doing, Felix?
Good. I'm sitting next to John Alite, who's over here, and he's going to say hello to you real
Hey,
quick.
how you doing, La? How's everything?
Hey, all right, John. Good to hear from you guys. I love the show. I talked to you a few times. I wrote in one time.
Yeah.
I'm the union plumber, 55. I'm a kid from Long Island that got into the union. My father got me into the union, and I remember because I started December of '85, and I was a kid that knew nothing about Queens, the city, the mob, nothing, and all they talked about was the Castellano hit, how big it was. And I'm coming to work, and they're telling me, "You don't know what's happening. The power is changing." I had no idea. I was a kid, 19 from Long Island. And I was a big Gotti fan. I was rooting to, was the idiot yelling at the TV, "Let him free, let him free." It was so funny. Until I read John's book, it's awesome because he gives a whole other side of the whole thing that you never know. And even when you read Sammy, too, you could see the treachery and how once you think it's a great lifestyle and I would love to be a gangster and be all tough and have all this power, but you guys went through hell. John, your life is unbelievable. That you really need a movie.
Thank you, Lau. You know what, Lau? The thing is, we're all raised, looking up to it, I guess, because of the fantasy of the good life. And, everybody's, my message is very simple. I got a positive message. Stay away from the street. Do exactly what you're doing. Go to work. It all seems like it's good. And, obviously I get a lot of everybody's attacking on a regular basis because they don't like what I have to say. But my message is not to hurt anybody else, but it's just to be positive towards kids so they don't ruin their lives. I says, and, I know better than anybody because, look, the attacks still continue with me. And because I speak the way I speak. And what I'm trying to do is save some kids' lives. And I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, whether they attack me or not. Try at every angle to shut me down from sending the message. And the message is to be just like you. Do what you're doing, go to work, enjoy your life, enjoy life for what it is. And this stuff about the street, I'm sorry, it's just not the reality of a good life. It's just terrible treachery.
You're right. And I'm the one who wrote into you, drugs, jails, and rehabs. So I was a little bit in street. I was that and you guys answered my question one time, and I know it was a tough life for me. I lived two lives. Tried to live the straight life, but using, and you just can't use on the weekend, especially cocaine and crack and all the crazy stuff.
Well,
And it went nuts. It went out of control for me for a while.
Well, you know what, lad? Like, a lot of people call guys junkies and this and that. And you know what? People like yourself are everyday people. You're not a junkie. You're a human being.
No.
You're a nice guy. You do what we all did. We played around. You're on the street. We all play around with drugs. We play around drinking. And I'm glad you called in because a lot of people, just recently, a guy, Bobby Glenn, just asked me the same thing. Can I talk more about the drugs and drinking? Because that comes along with the street. Because, you're on the street doing drugs, drinking, and hanging around and, hustling around to try to get high and do things. And you get yourself into trouble and you live in a double life. And really, that's, most of the people out in the street are doing the same thing. You're the average everyday guy. You're the guy that, we're all the same. All of us are doing the same thing. And hopefully your experience and my experience and other people's experience helps the next guy that's right now that's doing drugs and drinking and thinking there's no way out of it. And that, they start getting depressed and thinking, whatever, I'm a bum, I'm a loser, whatever's going through their head, everything that went through all our heads. But then there's, the hope of knowing that, listen, you got your life right, hopefully I got my life right and other people can get their life right. And that's really the basis of hopefully what the show is, the message, not what people are trying to take out of the show about, because obviously we got to talk about some of the violence and some of the other things, but that's not the message. The message is positive to hopefully help some kids, girls and guys to get their life right. Don't be ashamed of our past. It's part of us. And just try to do the right thing every day.
And you can come back from every level pretty much. You know what I mean? Like,
you're not coming in right now.
1 second. Just give us 1 sec. Oh,
there you go.
Okay. You can come back from every level too, unless you're doing life, but you can still make a change in your life no matter how far bad you've gone. Even you, because I think, I was fascinated about all that stuff, so I would think a person could become someone like you, how you were in the streets, John. And then when you read the darkest hour, then you see the beginning and how your mind was trained right from get-go. And you lived in those tough neighborhoods and you had to survive amongst all kinds of different nationalities and races. And it's just the way it is. It's what you're around and how you're bred and with your environment and how you adapt. And it's not an excuse, right? Other people became doctors and lawyers. We know that. It's just how our own mind works. But it's great. It's great that you came back out of it. That's what I love the most. That's what attracted me to the story was the comeback, because I have a comeback story of my own. And to see your comeback story of a way out there. And the Brazilian jail just blew my mind, because I did a little skid bit in Riverhead. Nothing like you. But I know what it's like to be a little bit locked up. But to be in some strange jail like that, it's unbelievable how you made it back.
Yeah, well, you know what? We're hoping everybody hears what you just said about comeback. You came back, I came back. And really, it's never too late for anybody. And that's really the message, right? The comeback story with all of us.
The comeback
and skid
story.
bit or not, I tell everybody 24 hours in jail is 24 hours too much. So, it is when people say, oh, he only did this or that. Well, he lost his life for, a point in time. Like I said, 24 hours for guys. Hopefully that's enough to wake some people up 6 months or whatever you did, a year or 2 years. It doesn't matter. It's just losing your freedom. And, and we hopefully we give everybody the opportunity that they know they can make a comeback. And really, and that's really, I got to tell you, I appreciate what you're saying too. The last call had some good things to say too. And you guys really help, with what we're saying every day, is, everybody hears us. But when you guys are saying it, it shows the message is resonating towards people. And that's really what we're trying to do. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely resonating. And all that other nonsense and these other haters, I've seen the other people on the other show.
I got to laugh.
I can't stand it.
Yeah, I know, but you got to laugh at it. Can't take it serious.
You got to laugh.
I swear, you notice I don't answer back. I don't even listen to it, but people will tell me about it. And, maybe here or there, I'll click for a second if somebody tells me. But overall, I swear I don't listen to it. I just laugh at it. I'm like, who's got the time to just such terrible, what's their message? Just besides hating, they're not helping nobody. So, you want to hate me. I mean, you're hurting all these people that want help. So, just the way I got help and you got help and we're trying to help people and what you're just calling in is helping people. So, if they're going to hate no matter what, we can't stop that.
It blows my mind. The funny thing is, because I look at it and I look at, you were friends with Junior. right, for a while,
Right.
for a few years. What makes them think you weren't in the house? What makes you think you weren't around Gotti Senior?
But
I don't believe. I've seen the videos. You're right there. You're not hanging out. You're not walking up to make a payment.
yeah.
You're at the friggin' Ravenite hanging out.
You
So
know,
security. Looks like there was security to me.
You know what, lad? Doesn't matter what they believe. You know, honestly, I really don't care. You know what I believe in?
Right.
Guys like you that, you know, they're trying to get help and trying
I
to help
care
other
more
people.
than you do.
Yeah, because,
It's
you know,
New York.
what they want to do is obviously hurt me, lie about me. And I think enough people have seen over the years that this is a nonstop thing of lies and treachery against me. But that's okay. I really do laugh about it, I swear.
Oh, that's
You know,
good. That's
so
good.
you know, it is what it is. I mean, they want to have a shitty message. I don't know what their message is. You know, they don't have a good message about anything. Not trying to help anybody. So what they want to do is just hurt me. All right. So you know, that's okay. You want to hurt me? They're not. And I don't care who doesn't believe me or does believe me. I really don't care about that either. I just care about the guys that, like yourself, or people that need help, that are looking out for a hand. And, you know, if we can put a hand out and you just put a hand out, to believe me when I get these messages, you know, next week, I'm going away. I'm going to Europe. I'm filming for about 6 weeks. But when I go away, I'm going to get hundreds of emails about your call. So what you're saying, trust me,
Really?
is going to resonate about people saying, wow, I like what Larry said. So it's
Wow.
not about just me. It's about you also now. And then the next guy that you're helping, because somebody needs to hear what you just said, that you struggle with things. And they'll say,
Yeah.
you know, this is about you now. This ain't about me. This is not about Gotti. This is
Right.
about some kid or girl or guy, older
Absolutely.
guy, divorced guy that's going through a divorce, can't handle it. Maybe he's drinking too much. Maybe he's using drugs to, you know, get rid of the pain. So it's good what you're saying. And don't get
Yep.
mad at these guys. They want you to get
No.
mad. You know, they want
You got-
attention. So if we don't
gotta
give it
laugh
to
at
them, and okay, talk about me every day if you want. That's okay. I'm not paying attention to it.
And it's like with you, I think in your life, and all I know is that your baseball, when you went away and you got hurt and that didn't work out, that was like a fork in the road, because that would have took you somewhere else. With me, it was I was supposed to go into the military, sworn in, everything, had the party, I was leaving, and because I wanted to take that anger that I had in me
Yeah.
and be trained. I wanted to be a trained killer. That's what I wanted to do at 18 years old. I said I want to go to the Green Beret, trained killer. This is what I want. So right before I'm supposed to leave, 2 days before I leave, I saw a captain calls me up. You're being automatically discharged. I go, what do you mean? Your recruiting officer is under investigation for falsifying records. And I'm going, but Captain, I told him I had a GED. He goes, it's not your fault. You just got to go through the whole process all over again. And I was like, oh, okay. But, you know, you're 18. You're like, F you. I don't want to do it. You know what I mean? I'm going to do something else. And I got into the Union, but really, if I would have went away at that time, right in the 80s, right in the 86, maybe I wouldn't have picked up the stem. Maybe I wouldn't have got high.
Well,
really bad.
yeah,
like
you
I
know,
did,
you know what? Life's, you know, our path's our path, whether we like it or maybe it was predestined. But I'm going to tell you something about veterans, because I got a ton of veteran friends and I do shows with them. I'm a joke. You know, when guys talk about, oh, this guy's tough or that guy's,
Right.
we're all a joke compared to some of my veteran friends who are really
Right.
trained, loyal, they killers in shape, experts in that field. So when street guys try to act like they're tough guys, I'm telling you, all of us are clowns compared to these guys. And that's why I get such respect for the veterans. I talk about them all the time. They got true honor with each other. They protect the flag, they protect this country, they protect each other. So, you know, something that you said about being trained, these guys are legitimate, serious guys. That
Yep.
not like us, because, you know, that's why I talk so against the street, because really, we're all frauds. You know, all of us, not just me, all of us guys that were on the street. If you want to be that tough guy, you should have went into the Marines,
Into the military, right.
and did something positive with your life. We did negative
be
shit with our
trained.
life. So, you know, and everybody knows I'm always talking about the vets. I mean, these guys are true heroes.
They are. They absolutely are. Listen, keep the stories coming. We love the stories. I know they're crazy about glorifying, but the stories are so interesting, and we keep the message out front with the kids.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Thank you, Larry. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your week, and when I get back from Europe, stay in touch.
I will, absolutely.
Okay.
Take care, Felix.
Yeah, thank you so much, Larry. We appreciate you.
All right. Thanks for calling, guys.
Thank you.
So, at what point did you realize that you're just trying to convince yourself, and that it's not, that what you're, you know, just giving them, throwing money at them or throwing money at the issue is not the way to to win over, I guess, your kid's heart in a sense?
I think because, I went through my relationships was so bad because you're never around. And, it's how you going to have normalcy. Going to dinner once a week on a Saturday night. I think it was our Saturdays were the nights we stay with our family. The rest of the time we're with each other day and night, all the guys. And we're moving drugs and we're killing and we're shooting. And every time you go home and you just shot somebody or robbed somebody, how's your head going to be with your child, really? You're halfway there because you're thinking about what just happened. Are you going to go to jail? You're going to get caught? Are they coming to, is there going to be repercussions from it? Or the police going to knock on the door? You can't possibly mentally be with your kids if you're doing all these criminal activity. Just can't. It just doesn't work. And it's a lie. So everything you're doing with your children's a lie. And I think I started to realize it every time I got locked up. And you're not coming home. And I'm not talking about, it doesn't even have to be a long bid. It's just you get locked up for 2 weeks and you get a bail. You're gone. How do you explain that to your kids? The kids think that you don't love them because you're not around. So even though they're not saying it because they can't really, they're too young to articulate what the problem is, but they're thinking they're missing something. And the more they're missing something, the more anger they get towards you.
For you, do you feel like when you first had your kids, did you think that it could ever end up in that way that it did? Or did you imagine... Like, did you think about when you first had your kids that, I'm going to go to jail, I probably won't see them? Or is that not really a thought at all?
You try to, you're going to go to jail. But you're not thinking about the kids, you're thinking about yourself, how you're going to handle it. Like, I'm taking them to Chuck E. Cheese, I'm taking them to Great Adventure, I'm taking them to Florida, I'm taking them to, all the, what's that, Hershey Park. I'm taking them to all the parks and events. I spend a lot of time with them when I'm free. When I'm free, that's the big word, when I'm free. So I'm giving them dosage of sugar, like, I'm taking them to the parks and this, and then they don't see me for 6 days of the week because not like a normal working father that is a lawyer or something, because my life might end that day or my life might end in prison that day. And I start convincing myself that I'm this great father because I'm buying them everything. I'm taking them to all these parks. But at the same time, they're starting, as they're getting older, I'm coming in and out of jail, they're verbally abusing me. I'm not just me.
Like,
what kind of things my friends.
Are they saying?
Oh, everything. Calling you a piece of shit, cursing you out, challenging you physically as they're getting older, and I'm not the only father like this. So when those guys that are out there, they're in the street, you guys all know what I'm talking about, or women that are in the street, because kids get resentment and anger, and they didn't know how to express it as younger kids. As they get older, the resentment comes out. And then you find yourself in jail cursing your own kids out. And every guys want to be honest. They got to be honest because you curse your own kids out. Fuck them, blah, 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 because you're still into that narcissistic belief that this is about you only. Because I sacrifice my life for them. I buy them everything. I take them trips. I give them money. I get them, trips in a Hummer, like, stretch limousines for their birthdays. And that's bullshit. That's just quick fixes of not being a father, or I'm doing homework with them from jail, and I'm calling up and I'm talking to the principal, and they're putting me on the phone when my kids are in grammar school. That's to convince ourselves that we're being good dads. That ain't what our kids want. Our kids want us home. They want us to sit on the couch and watch a cartoon with them, and not, for an hour and then see you later again and not really be there. This is the problem.
Assuming you still, had the life that you had and were in the Mafia, all that stuff, how would you have been a different father? Or the two?
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
You can't be a different father and be in the street.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. The only way you can be a father to your children is to be a father. And that means, picking them up, bringing them to school in the morning before you go to work, a regular job, so your son sees, constructive living. He sees that my dad gets up, makes breakfast with my mom, and for the single mother, same thing, or single fathers that don't have, either way, you take your child to school, you go to work, and they see that there's structure in their life. So it's not what you're saying, it's what they're watching. And then after school, whether they go to daycare until you get out of job, and then you pick your kid up and you have a normal family life and you sit down. The problem is not just with the street guys, we don't have any of that. So everything that we're teaching our kids is dysfunctional from day one.
Mhm.
It took me a lot of therapy to go through this to understand from my therapist. And, and such shitty things that we do. We just have crazy lives. I mean, just, with all the things I said earlier, whether it's, serious murders and shootings and armed robberies and drug dealing and gambling, and then our sex parties and fucking, we do everything we do with drugs all over the table, girls and guys everywhere. This is not normal living. It's fast line. It sounds exciting, right? It's the Hollywood, everybody's in rooms and, partying up and champagne and traveling and, we're on planes everywhere, jet setting. Sounds real cool, right? But it ain't. At the end of the day, we're all suffering. And then we make our family suffer. And I don't know any street guys. And if they convince their kids to believe in this, they got to have rocks in their head. And maybe that's why everybody hates me so much, because I talk so honestly about all this stuff.
What was the most heartbreaking conversation you ever had with one of your kids?
Well, there was a couple. I mean, when I first went to prison and I decided that I was going to cooperate, they called me a rats. They
called you?
Oh, yeah.
And it's the sons?
My youngest son, out of all the kids, speaking honestly, has never done that. And I mean, my other kids, the other three, yeah, they all did. Day and night cursed me out. Day and night threatened me. Wanted to fight me physically. So
knowing you're gonna go to jail. So like
knowing.
So at that point, just set up the scene for people. It's like, so you're going to jail, and you're telling them, and then that's
you can't win with your kids, because if you go to jail, they're cursing you out because you left. The first time when they're younger, they don't do it. As they're getting older, then they start doing it. And then when I ask them, come visit me, they're cursing me out because they're with their friends. They got sports, they got jobs, and then they start cursing you like, fuck you, I didn't tell you to be a fucking idiot and go on the street, and they start firing at you. And then they apologize, and then they're young still too, and they're crying because they feel guilty, and then they they make up with you, and then they're mad at you again. Then they won't write you a letter. And then you ask them, how come you never write daddy? And then they don't answer. And then their mothers are mad because so they're hearing their mother suffering, and then, the money's running out because I don't care how rich you are. You're losing money, and then you're getting court cases, and the government's taking your money, and then your partners are all stealing your money. So, it's the slew of all this stuff takes effect on your kids. And then as your kids get older, and I come back home again, and I try to discipline them or try to advise them, they're stepping up in my face to fight me. So now you're frustrated. You're thinking about, and then I'm yelling at them, I never did this to my fucking father. You're doing it to me. Mm-hmm. But my father was never a gangster. My father might have been broke. He might have been a gambler. He might have been that. But he was around every day. I wasn't. So then you'd hear my father would yell at me and said, you did this. Stop fucking pointing at everybody else. So, which he was right, I'm very close to my father. So when people are so angry and people are, and these people are talking nonsense that didn't live the life, they're not in the cells like a lot of my friends today. A lot of my friends that are home, either active or not active, they all got problems with their kids. Mm-hmm. All. I mean, I really don't know any that don't. And then maybe they the ones that said they don't, I don't think they're being honest, because we left them their whole lives. And, you can't get all that time back again. I try to get it back. So when people are attacking me, I really don't care what they say, because all I want to do is have my kids.